Chapter 13, Operation Warp Speed and President Trump. After the November 4th, 2020 election, when President Trump no longer had a political motive to promote the vaccine promise, he still secured a substantial amount of Pfizer vaccine for Americans. Yet, when he requested to the company to deliver the vaccines he had paid for, he was criticized for not ensuring equal distribution to the rest of the world. Despite the fact that Americans were among the most infected and have the highest death rates in the world, this serves as a clear example of how attacks on President Trump persisted even at the expense of American interests. These experts would risk American lives to create immense goodwill and respect for America by sharing the vaccines globally, even though the vaccine distribution was supposed to be proportional to the number of infections and deaths. This is not the only area where the management of the COVID pandemic was used to criticize President Trump for political gains. A review of online articles describing pandemic mismanagement by President Trump in 2020 reveals numerous examples accusing him of mishandling the situation. Some of the comments are so biased and primitive such that one wonders how the articles could even be published. For instance, while half of the experts criticized President Trump for the lockdowns, the other half criticized him for lifting the lockdowns too early, both groups supporting their arguments with scientific-sounding explanations to confuse most readers. Some attacks were worded in such a biased manner that a knowledgeable reader would find them offensive. These unbridled attacks raised ethical concerns in addition to factual errors. The same can be said about many other criticisms of Trump. 1,000 people repeating and supporting a lie does not make it true. I hope some of these experts will look back with reflection and regret that they unfairly misled the public. It almost seemed as if criticizing Trump was necessary to establish their credentials as experts. The COVID pandemic arrived in the USA in early January 2020, though there is considerable evidence that it actually began several months earlier. Due to the asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic spread of COVID-19, the pandemic was likely already established in the US long before January, making containment unrealistic by the time the pandemic was officially recognized. President Trump faced 2 or 3 contradictory and conflicting demands in managing the crisis, with the health of Americans being the top priority. But keeping the ever-fragile capitalistic economy viable was also crucial. It was equally important to prevent people from being driven into panic. President Trump was criticized for admitting to Bob Woodward that he was playing down because I don't want to create a panic. Instead of acknowledging the validity of this concern, Trump was roundly criticized for misleading the public. In hindsight, President Trump's effort to balance the 3 competing priorities should be complimented, noting his compassion for the American public.